Today, June 16, a momentous day when it comes to politics, because it is 10 years to the day that modern politics changed forever when Donald J. Trump formally announced that he was running for the presidency of the United States back in 2015. You remember the moment when he came down the golden escalator? Well, that is 10 years ago tonight. Tip, if you ever get the chance to go to Trump Tower, and I have obviously as a tourist, the escalators don't work like that for everyone else. You notice that he's sort of one escalator back. Well, the escalator that is closest to the atrium, that's the one that goes down. The one that he went down is the one that goes up, but hence is the power of a potential president. But like you, 10 years, right? Like in a flick, you just go 10 years, my goodness, how did that pass so fast? Or, of course, for the Trump haters, it's been a lifetime. But can we just for a second, just have a think about what's happened in the past 10 years. On this day, 10 years ago, down the escalator, and he made a speech that people could still quote to this day, positively or negatively.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems. And they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
What an ending. And some. Now, the media, it must be fairly said, did not think that he was a chance of not just becoming president, they didn't think that he'd end up as the Republican nominee. And if I'm being truly honest, and I will not attempt to wipe my history, I didn't think it was a slam dunk. Why? Because Jeb Bush was in the race. He would have been the third Bush running to be president. He was the then governor of Florida. He had $200 million and all the machine on his side. But of course, the media, well, just as they do 10 years later, this was their attitude back then.
There are no words. How do you even have a straight face right now? There are no words.
Ed Rendell, do you have any doubt that this is anything more than a carnival show?
We all laugh about it, and I'm sitting here laughing out loud, you know.
It's like I can't tell if this is politics or if this is just PR.
Is it typical Donald Trump fashion, or is it hilarity run amok?
This morning, some Republicans say they're worried Trump will turn the campaign into a circus.
Party leaders worry Trump's presence will turn the primary into a joke.
Oh, but it was so good. Remember from the very first debate, the question, of course, from our dear friend Megyn Kelly? Well, there he was with heavy hitters, with governors, with, people, again, who felt a birthright to the presidency. All of them blown away, he becomes the nominee. That's history in and of itself. And then, of course, he had the opportunity to debate Hillary Clinton, and like or dislike what he had to say, this is a killer line in a debate.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
It doesn't matter if it's a serious punch or a heavy punch, the way you got to fight back, you cop one and then you deliver two. Well, of course, he won that election. It doesn't matter what the margin, it doesn't matter which state and all. He won, right? Absolutely, 270 electoral votes. America wanted a change. It had a rocky 4 years, and again, I'm going to brush over everything from Russia to COVID responses and all the rest of it. But then, of course, the bloke who was able to push him out of office, well, he didn't have to run for office, did he? He was in the basement thanks to the results of what had got out of control in China when it came to the coronavirus, and Biden ended up basically reversing the fortunes and won by about the same margin that Trump had done 4 years earlier. We know that Trump didn't accept the results, and in part because of how he didn't accept those results, an incredible further moment of history. All of this in the past 10 years. Remember when there was a mugshot, the first ever mugshot of a former president? This, of course, was in Georgia, connected with a case that eventually went away, about plans to change the 2020 result. And then, of course, he was off to court and I think this was a ludicrous case. Remember, he was essentially being found guilty of a bookkeeping offence, but they didn't bring the bookkeeper in to prove the offence because the bookkeeper had clearly proven that it wasn't an offence. But still, remember how people had thought this guy, okay, yes, he's back as the nominee, but there's no way this guy could win.
This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people, and they know what happened here.
But the history was not over. As you know where this is going, but it goes via one of the most extraordinary things any of us who care about politics have ever seen, which was the then sitting president of the United States, who we all know wasn't up to it when he was campaigning from the basement, just melting before the world's eyes. Oh, first it was a flu, then he was tired from travel, and then, of course, eventually people write best-selling books that he was never up to it, that he was crumbling behind the scenes. And even before we get to he wins the 2024 election, he was shot at, not just once, but twice, including live on TV.
That's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
July 14 last year. This has all happened in the past 10 years, all as a result of coming down the escalator to enter into a primary that few thought that he would be able to win.